Well, hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. This is going to be a quick recap of what we just did with the Global BA Stand Up just now. We had the Global BA Stand Up maybe an hour or so ago. And during that time, we had some audio issues for the people on the live. So we carried on with the Global BA Stand Up for those who were on the call. So we do have a call. So it's a Google Meet call that you can join for free. And we have the Global BA Stand Up on the first Monday of every month. So for the month of July, that's what we were having today, the 1st of July, 2024. So uh, we had the Global BA stand up, but again, we had some technical issues. Some people on the live couldn't hear. So I'm doing this live as like a recap of what we talked about. It's going to be much shorter, of course, but we'll just give you the highlights of what we talked about so that you can have this to watch later on in the future. So I'm going to talk about what we discussed in the Global BA stand up, and I'll also talk a little bit about a few other things that I didn't get a chance to talk about at the time, so that you guys can always have the most information about the BA space that I can offer. So if you haven't signed up yet, I'm going to put the link to where you can sign up so you can meet the next one for next month. So if you haven't, I'm going to put it in the chat. This is the link for you to go and sign up. It's a very quick form, and then we send you an email with the meeting invite for you to be able to join the Global BA Stand Up. And if you already signed up, then you can just save it to your calendar because we'll meet every Monday, the first Monday of every month, with the same meeting link, and then you can just join at that time. So we're meeting on Google Meet, and I know we had some hiccup about whether it's Google Meet or Zoom. We switched over from Zoom and we moved to Google Meet. So make sure that the invite that you have says Google Meet, and then you can join us the first Monday of every month. And I like to make it interactive. So if you join, you can ask a question. I will answer it for you. And that's what we're trying to do today, trying to see how we could run the meeting and stream it live and have the interaction. But we had some technical issues. So I'm doing this recap to just go over what we talked about. So in today's Global BA Stand Up, we talked about one of the questions that they had was, what's next for you as a BA? Like after you've kind of felt comfortable in the role, what is the next step? Where do you go next? Where does your career go to? And I've done a bit video on this called Where's the BA Career Going? And we talked about it moving from just being a BA to moving into more of a PO role and a PM role. And I talked about how, you really can't exhaust the BA role, right? You can't say, oh, I know everything there is to know about business analyst. So therefore, I'm done. I can move on now. It's not one of those roles that you really can exhaust. There's always new ways to apply different techniques to different problems. There's always ways to you're always learning is the point, and you're never really done. Every time you think you've mastered something, then you have a project where that really challenges you, and you're like, oh my god. Right? So you're not going to ever feel like you've learned everything, but you could get, kind of weary and want to do something different. And in that case, you can move from a BA to in maybe a PO role if the two are different. Sometimes the two are kind of doing the same things, but if they have a clear distinction between a BA and a PO, you can become a PO, then you become a PM, which is a product manager, which means you're moving away from in the day-to-day of the requirements, and you're moving into more the roadmap. Where are we going overall with this product? What are the things that we need to add to the product to make it more um, useful for our customers, to get more sales? So you get into that kind of world. Or you could get into PM as in project manager. So you're just running the project, talking about budgets all day and resource allocation and managing the tasks. And so you're not in the requirement space. You're not directly talking to developers and scrum masters. So you could get into that as a next step from your BA role. Or you could move from BA to PO, or BA to PM, or project manager or product manager, or you could go into, C-suite executives. They could become a VP. So typically as a BA, they don't call you BA at the level of C-level executives. They'll say something like Chief Operations Officer, right? Or VP of business analysis, or some fancy title that just means that you're doing business analysis at a higher level across the organization. So there's that also that you can get into. Unless you get into like a C-level executive role, the salary doesn't really change that much if you're a BA going into a PO. It's sort of like a huge jump. So a lot of people stay in the BA role because they know that as they move upwards, the job changes. So it's really a different career. You're not really working on solving real problems. You're working more at an administrative level. So you're having more meetings. You're just having conversations. You're um, not really solving the kinds of problems that you like to solve. By the way, guys, make sure you can hear me well. If you can't hear me, let me know. Make sure the audio is coming clear so that I can fix anything that needs to be fixed. I'm using a new mic today, so experimenting with that as well. So let me know. All right, so that's what we talked about. We talked about moving into the different role as a BA. And then we also talked about the job market. So there was one person who joined today's call, and she said that she had been working as a BA and she had to quit the job because she got pregnant. She was trying to have a baby, and the stress of being doing the pregnancy and also the job, it was just too much. So she had to just, focus on, delivering a healthy baby, and she quit the job. But now she's, had her baby. She feels pretty good and she wants to jump back in. And she's found that the job market has become really, really rough. And her question to me, or ask to me, was what advice could I give her to help her to get started or to get back in? And the good thing is, once you've already had some experience, it's better for you to have better conversations in the interviews. So I told her, she really has to bring her A game. You really have to bring your A game because there is more people in the market, and the people in the market are doing more things. I have seen some really, really elaborate resumes, and they really take the cake. I've seen video resumes. Okay. I've seen people applying for BA jobs and they do a video resume and they add people who give them like recommendations in the video. They talk to their ex coworkers. And I mean, it was so creative and flawless. I'm like, wow, if you're getting these quality resumes coming in and you are looking to hire somebody, the things that other people are doing starts to look really simple. Like people are bringing it. So you really have to be on par with them so that they can choose you over these other people, right? Because you have exposure, you have experience, you've worked in the field, you know what you're doing. So my advice to her was really get on there, like really focus on how can you give the best representation of yourself. Make sure you update your resume to be as clear and representative of you as possible. You don't need to invent a resume. Everybody knows I do not agree with that. I don't believe you need to make up a whole bunch of lies, but you need to make sure your resume is outstanding. And then when they call you, you need to be able to speak like a BA. You need to be able to articulate yourself well like a BA, right? So go out there, practice to do that. Make sure you have the jargons and the words, and you'll be able to flawlessly deliver that. And hopefully you get an offer. People, I do consults all the time, and people are getting offers and they are getting jobs, even in this economy. So you too, why not you? Of course, you can get the job. You just have to be strategic about it. I have a consult where I teach people how to be ready for the interview and how to make the best impression on the interview, and all the little techniques I've found that work for you to get from being called by the recruiter to actually getting an offer, right? The steps that you have to take, the way you need to talk about things, the way you answer common questions. Questions like, tell me about yourself. Questions like, why do you want to work here? These questions are coming. Have the better answer. Don't sound like everybody else. Oh, I want a new challenge. Nobody wants to hear that no more. They've all heard it. That's all everybody's saying. How can you provide an answer that rings true, that is clear, that differentiates you from the rest, and let them say, you know what? We really should choose this person over everybody else. This is the person for us, right? You don't get there um, by just telling a bunch of lies on the resume, right? That would probably get you a call, but it's not going to hold when they start drilling you and asking you questions. So you want to be in a position where you feel confident and you can get into any interview and exude that and be able to get the job. So it's not impossible. It's harder because you have to do more, but you definitely can get there. So many people I've coached have been able to land the job. So if you're in the job market and you're still struggling, you have to up your game, you have to up the volume, and you have to be very strategic. And I'm here to help you with that, but you can also do it on your own and land the job out as well. So the other question we had was about, just techniques. So I'm going to share my screen. We had when you join the Global BA Stand Up, we always have a idea board. So again, this is a stand up like an agile stand up, right? So basically, in an agile world, you have a daily stand up for 15 minutes every day, and the Scrum Master, developers, BAs, QAs, UX design, everybody who's on the Scrum team will meet and talk about blockers and try to solve them so that the team can move forward with the work for the sprint. So that's the same idea with our Global BA Standup that we have the first Monday of every single month. We meet as BAs and we talk about what are the things that are blocking us. So if you're just starting in the field, what's blocking you from getting started? If you're looking for a job, what are you being blocked by? Obviously, you're not getting the job, so that's a blocker. But what else are the things that's happening? If you had an interview, what were some of the questions that they asked that you stumbled on? Maybe somebody else can learn from that. If you already have a job, what's stopping you in being an excellent BA? What is preventing you from doing just the best job possible, right? So that's what we talk about in the Global BA Stand Up. It's for 1 hour, and we have this idea board that we use to, sometimes people don't want to talk up. Maybe you're at work and you can't really, make them know that you're not paying attention to the job. So you can just put your questions on this idea board. So every time we send out the link for the Global BA Stand Up, so you have to register first so you can get the email, and then you get the email. There'll be a link where you can click on this link, get to this place, this idea board. It's a free board that anybody can create, but ours will say Global BA Stand Up, and that's where you'll see the questions that people put. So these are the questions that was placed for today's Global BA Stand Up, and we have it in 3 sections: what's going well, right? What's not going well, and what's blocking you. We also had a section for action items, which we don't have right now, but we will have going forward. So what they said, what was going well, was somebody said having freedom to do almost anything, right? So it's a good thing. It's a good thing when you work for a place where they trust you. They give you the freedom to say, hey, this is a problem we're trying to solve it in the best way that you can, right? So nobody's over your head with a stick and giving you steps and micromanaging you and telling you when to, meeting with you at 9 and then checking in at 12 and then want the result at 3. We don't have that, right? So when you work in a place where they trust you as a BA, you can get a lot of freedom. But in the call, I also said to that person that, hey, even though you have the freedom, it can be a double-edged sword, right? Sometimes you have so much freedom, you can do almost anything, but they expect you to do everything. So then all the things become your problem to solve, and you become the owner of all the problems. So you guys got to be careful with that. Having free reign is great, but you could also end up overburdening yourself. So you gotta check that a little bit. Then something else that was going well that they said was have already performed some BA duties. So when you're new to the field and you've been going to courses, you've been doing classes, and you're like, I think I understand it. Like, it's cool. I think I could do this. And then you get your first job and you put on your first project and you actually do it and you see what you've been learning in your courses apply. That's a very, very good feeling. It's incredible. It makes you feel, validated, like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and it gives you confidence. And that's definitely a good thing. So this person said that's going well, and I'm very happy for them. And then the other one was that this person said that they were being asked to do ITIL certifications. I don't know if you guys know what ITIL is. It's a certification that we do in the IT space. And also Power BI certification, which is another certification for analytics and Power BI stuff. And they were wondering, how will this help a BA become more efficient and more successful? And basically, they're working with developers on internal projects. So basically, internal stakeholders. So basically, they're saying, well, I'm not doing reporting and I'm not doing like IT management. So why do I need to do a cert in ITIL and a cert in Power BI? It seems kind of tangential to the role, right? And my advice to that person in the call was that yes, it's a little tangential. It may not directly result in the work you're doing right now. And unless they move you into a more of a data analytics role where you need to pull all this data and create these reports, the Power BI is not necessarily useful. Neither is the ITIL, but it's knowledge. It's knowledge. And if they want to pay for you to do it, let them pay for you to do it. And then you learn, right? So part of it is you have to remember that you're in the business of you, right? You are a business. You are presenting your knowledge, your skills, your techniques to your company, and they're paying you for that skill. So whatever knowledge you can acquire in the pursuit of that, in the sale of your professional services as an individual business owner to the business that you work for, then you should get that knowledge. And if they want to pay for it and you just need to spend some time and energy learning it and passing the cert, sure, do that. If they want to give you a little time off to do your studies also, that's great. I mean, I don't see any way to lose here. I think this is a win-win situation. You get more knowledge, you get more exposure, you get more access to tools, and you do it at their expense, but the knowledge stays with you, right? And you can help them solve better problems in the future. Now, the caveat to this could be that maybe they're going to move you into more of a data reporting role soon and they want you to have the tools to be able to do that. So maybe that's what's coming. But you're not losing. You're not losing by just, learning new things. The other thing that came up in the Global BA stand up today was understanding the BA steps. So somebody said, hey, I'm having trouble knowing what steps to take as a BA. And my answer to them was, well, that's the problem. First of all, you're expecting steps, and there are no steps, right? So steps don't exist. And that's the problem. So, people have to set the right expectation. This is not a job like a factory job where you just do this and do this. This is not assembly line. Okay. So you have to be analytical. You have to come out there and think, okay, what's the best approach for this? What's the technique that I need to apply here? What kinds of questions do I need to ask these stakeholders? How do I elicit these types of requirements? It's never the same. You could do two projects that are very identical, but the approach is different. You might be solving this part of the problem at this point and that part at the other point. So you have to pivot, right? So there is no steps. And as a matter of fact, everybody's looking towards you telling them what your approach is because they don't know either. Nobody on the project knows. You are the owner of the requirement. It is your job to solve it, but nobody has the magic answer and just waiting for you to see if you know it too. They don't know, and you don't know either, and that's fine. Part of your job is to take these unknowns and make sense of them in a way that makes it better for the team to achieve the thing they set up to achieve. So setting out to achieve the goals without prior knowledge of if it will even work is part of the job. And then we talked about what's not going well. And somebody said there were some specific tools that they thought, um, you know, they needed to learn. And I advised them that you can go learn these tools on your own. And you don't really need a lot of tools. So tools are not a problem for us. It's the techniques that we need to have. And then in terms of blockers, we talked about ability to learn techniques and tools, right? So it's hard to know which technique will work, and you kind of have to trial and error it until you figure it out. And if you're under the tutelage of another BA, then you can get the knowledge from that person and then you can avoid some of the mistakes. And then understanding the BA terminology was another challenge that they had. So being able to know how to translate what they're doing today in their current roles into the BA world was what most people faced in terms of challenges. So yeah, that's what we had for the Global BA Stand Up today, and I had a great time. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about something else that I had on my agenda, which I didn't get to talk about with the group today, which was there are three terms that I have coined, which is going to be helpful, I believe, for you to kind of manage the requirements that you're handling. So this is for people who are working in the field, who are working on projects, who have tight deadlines, and who need some structure as to how they're going to deliver what needs to be delivered. I want to introduce three terms. Well, let's do two for today. I want to introduce two terms that I have coined that has been very, very helpful for me in just framing how I think about things and framing how I discuss things with my team. And the first of these I want to call out is what I am calling a control requirement, right? So, control requirement. What does that mean, Caroline? Well, I'll tell you. So, a control requirement is like, in my opinion, it is the overarching requirement that the entire project will follow. It is the requirement that every other requirement needs to adhere to. It's like the grand requirement above everything else for the life of this project, for the MVP that we are in, for the release that we're in, right? So it could be across the project in its lifetime, or MVP is going to be this control requirement, and MVP2 is going to be this other control requirement. So when I say control requirement, I mean this is the one thing we all agree must happen across everything we're doing for this project. So, for example, I'm now working on a project where we're trying to stand up a tool that replaces a tool that already exists. So, one of the things that our client has said to us over and over again has been it must meet parity. And I'm using these terms to you because this is the kind of terms you're going to hear when you start working as a BA. Words like parity. What are they talking about? So, what they're saying is today we do XYZ in our current tool. For our first release, we need to make sure the new tool does XYZ also. So basically, the two must be the same. We don't want to lose functionality. We don't want to lose anything that the current customers can do by us moving over to a new system. So the first release is going to be match what's already there. Make sure we haven't lost anything. And that is the control requirement, meaning everything that I'm building, everything I write, every requirement that I create is going to make sure it doesn't supersede or under perform what's there today. So if they can log in with username and password today, then they're going to be able to log in username and password with the new system. If they can see their accounts and they can make payments, they should be able to see their accounts and make payments. If they can check on the reviews and upload an image, then they should be able to check on their reviews and upload an image. So everything that's there, we need to make sure it's met. So if you ever have a question, should this be in scope or not in scope? Your question has been answered is whether or not it's doing done today or not. So they had a clear mandate that says we're just going to lift and shift to this new tool. We are not adding new scope and we're not changing anything. We just need to lift and shift. And then after that, we'll add new stuff going forward. So that's what I call the control requirement. And it's important to know that because if you meet with your stakeholders and you say to them, hey, this is a part of the feature set, this is something we're refining, this is something that we want to add, and they have told you ahead of time that we're just lifting and shifting and we're not adding anything new, then that's the control requirement. So whenever there's a discrepancy, you can say, well, what we were told or what we had agreed to was that this thing was not going to be in scope because it's not there today, and that's going to be the driving force for what we put in our requirements document. So what I mean? But in your head, okay, this is what it is that I need to limit myself by. I'm limited by what is there today, and that's very important. There are many projects that haven't made that clear, and so you end up with scope creep. You end up with little things creeping in here and there because it's not very obvious to you what's in and what's not. And the time it takes sometimes to get that clarity, sometimes the project manager just decides to move ahead with something, and then you find out that it costs. When you write a requirement, somebody has to build it, somebody has to test it, it has to be deployed, it has to be UAT'd. So there's so many downstream things that if you don't get it right before you add it, you're wasting a lot of people's time. So having a clear understanding of what I am calling the control requirement will save you a lot of time in terms of executing on your project. All right, let me see what this person is saying. So hi, Chinmaya. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. He says, hi, Carolise. I started my career with a small size product-based company in a business analyst role, doing elicitation of requirements, documents, mock-ups, wireframes, and providing product support. Very good. Very good. You're doing a lot. It's nearly 10 months in my job, but this company does not recognize us as a BA and does not give access to Agile board to create user stories, which is why I am planning to switch. All right. So you're doing elicitation, you're doing documentation, you're creating mock-ups and wireframes, and you're providing product support. It's a lot of stuff. If it's support within the development process, that's fine. But product support here, it sounds like it could be technical support, which is not good. So if they don't recognize you as a BA, no, this is the challenge, right? This is the challenge that we have in the BA space is that sometimes people think that anybody can do our job. Sometimes people think that, oh, just write requirements. It's just pulling up some document and just writing stuff. They don't appreciate that a very good BA really saves the company a lot of money. Not only that, but the clarity you provide is priceless. When you're doing a good job as a BA, you will not be recognized. When you're doing an excellent job, nobody even knows. You're like a silent elf making everything work, and nobody knows that it's because of what you're doing why everything is working. They tend to focus on the developers delivering the development code in a good way. They tend to focus on the PM managing the project very well. They tend to focus on the end result, that is the working software. But they sometimes don't realize that the elves behind all of that good result are the BAs. And when you don't have a BA, that's when you feel the pain. When you don't have a good BA and everything is going crazy, that's when everybody's all, oh my God, what can we do? But when you have a BA who is doing a great job, sometimes you don't get recognized because you're doing the job so well that nobody even knows you're there. It's just flawless. Nobody has a bunch of questions when it comes to sprint planning. Nobody is unclear about the user story details and the acceptance criteria because everything is so well written. Nobody has a problem when it comes to demoing because they built it exactly how you wrote it and you wrote it well. So you doing a good job, the output of that is often silence. And you got to get comfortable with that. But if they don't recognize you as a BA, it depends on what kind of recognition you want. I used to get annoyed when we would go live and they would give shout outs and they would say, thanks to the team. And they'd shout out the VP who is way over God knows where, not even not even knowing the problems that we solved on the project. Like so far detached. And they would highlight the VP and they would highlight the development team and everybody else was just team. And it used to bother me. I'm like, y'all know how many sleepless nights I spent to make sure we got here? Do you know how many hours this took? But I learned to realize that I don't really need recognition. Um, to a certain extent. Like obviously you need to get paid and your recognition leads to your getting your bonuses and all of your other stuff. You need that, right? And you need to make sure people are, you're being promoted as the time goes by. So in that sense, yes. But I don't need everybody every time to call me out, right? Or to say thank you. Sometimes you just have to live without that because you may not get it. So Chinmaya says, I was also involved in doing a PRD for a new software development, but still no credit. Here, seniors also do not know what a BRD is, right? So again, because a lot of people who fall into the PM role and fall into the PO role, and many people have become product managers or product owners or product managers through just working up the ladder, right? They've been working in operations and they eventually know about the product so well they become the product manager. Or they may have done some course, and if you're doing an agile course, typically you have three roles, right? You have the product owner role, the scrum master role, and the developer role. Those are the three roles in agile. So they don't really realize that they need a BA until they've gotten into the project and they realize, oh, there's another role. What's that role called? Oh, BAs, because the PO is doing the PO. Sometimes they have the PO doing the BA role and then they realize it doesn't work because they need somebody to prioritize and somebody different to go into the details. So sometimes the companies stumble into this and it's no fault of their own. Agile is kind of flexible. You can do it however you like. But there are some things that work well. Having a BA, a dedicated BA on the team is definitely needed. And we were kind of shafted by the developers of Scrum when they did not put a BA role in the whole Scrum. So people don't even know they need a BA until they're in the middle of the project. So a lot of people are not formally trained is the point. So they don't know what a BRD is or a PRD. They just don't know. They've been throwing things on paper and somehow getting it to work at some point, and they just feel like that's okay. if you need to do something to get your job done, trust me, people are going to find a way to do it. It may not be the most efficient way, but they're going to find a way. And if it means 100 million documents and thousands of conversations and meetings and a lot of inefficiencies, eventually they'll get there at some cost to them, time and money cost, but they'll get there. And they feel like once they got there, then that means that their approach worked, and they live to repeat the same mistake. So people don't always know what a BRD or PRD is, and sometimes they can educate people, but sometimes I don't know if it's worth it, right? But whenever you're given a task, it is your job to deliver the right documentation, even if they're not used to it. So if they say, "Oh, want requirements," you need to write BRD, right? You don't say, "Okay, they're writing some version of something that they call something else. Let me just give them that." Sometimes they only want to receive what they think they need, but sometimes you as a BA, being a professional, being trained, knowing the techniques, you can say, "Here's how I want to deliver this. This is an example of the document I'm going to deliver to you," and you just send it over to them. If they don't like it and they wanted to stick with whatever they were using, they'll tell you. And if they insist, then fine, you do what they want. They are paying you. But again, you're going to face people who are not formally trained and are in higher positions than you, and you wonder how they got there. And you have to break like your mental, how tied you are to feeling good about the job that you have done and being recognized for the job that you have done. Oftentimes the recognition comes later or not at all, and you may have to get used to that. If it becomes like really problematic and you're not feeling like your career is growing and you feel like you're being held back because you're not being recognized, then yes, I agree with you that you should look into moving, because nobody likes to be giving late night hours, working hard, doing all this stuff, and then when you come to the end of it, not even a thank you. Right? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. So I see that. I understand that a lot from you. Thank you so much for following up. Okay, Fala Shade. If I say it wrong, Fala Shade, I apologize. She says, or he says, "I am trying to transition into the BA role from an IT service management background, but being very difficult. I have optimized my CV and LinkedIn, but not gotten any response from recruiters. So I don't know. I have met people who have told me that they have optimized their resumes and they have done all these things. And when I look at the resume, I don't know if that's optimized. I believe that if you're not getting any calls, then the resume is definitely to blame. I think the resume is the first thing that needs to speak to the recruiters. And it could be that you're applying to the wrong jobs also, but the resume has to do its job. Lots of people today are using lots of tools for their resumes. They use Chat GPT to automatically generate the resume for them. They use services to people to write resumes. What I've found is that lots of people are not BAs. So they write the resume, it looks good, it's formatted properly, but it doesn't speak to the BA role very well. So that's a challenge that you're going to have to fix. So even if you pay someone to do your resume for you, or you do a Chat GPT resume, or you're just doing it yourself, you have to review it and make sure it is BA friendly, right? Because if somebody is not a BA, then they won't know how to make a resume BA friendly. I personally do not offer resume writing services, but I will help you with the way that you can update your resume. And as a part of one of my consults called the Business Analyst Interview Success Blueprint Consult, I help you review the resume to make sure you're saying the right things as a part of the consult. In that consult, I also help you to know, what are you bringing to the table? Why should they hire you? What can you say that would make yourself more standing out than everybody else? Then I will talk to you about how you can position yourself to be that candidate of choice for the job. And then I'll walk you through what to expect when you talk to recruiters. And then most importantly, how to present yourself when you get called for the hiring manager interview. How to present, how to prepare for that, what you should look into, and how to answer some of the most common questions that they ask a BA. Like, tell me about yourself. Like, why do you want to work here? Like, what happened in your last job? Why are you leaving your last job for this one? Like, how do you deal with difficult stakeholders? Like, tell me about a time when you failed. Like, stories that they want. They don't want to hear a flat answer. They want a story so they can get a picture of who you are. A lot of people don't realize that to get the job, you need to be likable. It's likability. How can you be how can and you see, the problem is people think they can fake it. You can just go in and just fake and tell a bunch of fake stories. In some jobs, that will work. With a BA job, it's not that easy to fake it. Now, a lot of people can do a good job in the interview and they get the role, right? We know this. But then you have to do the job. So the frustration after you get the job is even worse than trying to fake the interview. So it's a tough place to be, but it's doable if you just start the right way. And I'll have another live where I talk about how do you start your career the right way, because people are telling me every time I have a consult, every time they meet up with me, Carly, I know you say don't fit the resume, but how else am I going to get the job? I have to. I have to lie. I have to be an immoral person because that's how you get jobs these days. And I'm here to tell you, you can start your career the right way and you can avoid the frustration and you can avoid feeling like an imposter and you can still get the job. It's just that most people want to start at the top. They don't want to work their way up. So people like me, when I started my career at the bottom and worked up, worked up, worked up, nobody want to do that no more. Everybody want to be senior BA, first job senior BA. I want to make 100,000, 150,000 on my first go. And because of that, you will tell any lie, you'll invent any story, and you'll pretend as much as you can because you want to make that 150K per year. And that is what your plans are in life. And I'm here to tell you, sometimes you just have to take a lower paying job and start your career the right way. Nobody want to hear that. Everybody want to hear the lies. So you choose. So that's the thing. So it's very difficult to get started. I understand, but you really have to focus your CV on BA skills, focus your CV on BA techniques, and apply for the jobs that you can get, that you can pass the interviews for, that you read the job description and be like, I can do all of these things. This is definitely me, right? And one of the reasons why people are frustrated is because everybody's competing with each other. Everybody's competing. I don't know why you guys compete. Everybody's journey is different, but nobody wanna do that. If somebody migrate to the US and they land a job in six figures, now they have post all these things on Facebook and on Instagram, and everybody want to be the same. Okay, what did you do? I just came, I told some lies, I created a fake resume, and they gave me the job. And now I'm making six figures. So the next person behind them, that's what they want too. They want the same result. So they come in and they're doing the same thing. But the problem is that the employers are onto everybody. They're onto you. And so they've made the interview process so much more rigorous. They've Sometimes you tell on yourself from the very resume. Sometimes I look at resumes and I'm like, there is no way. And you guys have seen my shorts where I talk about this. I've seen a resume before where the poor person didn't have a clue what they're talking about. I mean, the resume was so beautiful. It was well formatted. It was pretty. It was nicely aligned. It was looking really good aesthetically. And then you read the bullet points and you realize, okay, there is no way you're doing this, and this in the same project. No way. You just made that up. You just copied and paste. And sometimes you look at all the bullets. There's like one job with like 12 bullets, another job, 12 bullets. And it's the same thing they're saying over and over again. And then you realize, oh, it's just a copy and paste. You know what I mean? And there are tools that you can use also to see if these things are fake. But that's not the point. The point is that you can start your career the right way. You may not be making six figures right away, but quickly thereafter, you'll make a six figures because you will get the exposure, you'll get the experience, you'll be working on real projects with real teams. They will know that this is your first BA job and they won't have the high expectations of you. They'll train you, they'll hold your hand. America is a place where they will help you. They will help you and they're not as quick to fire you if they know that you have to get some training to know how this system and this product works, right? A lot of employers, this is a fast-paced country and people want results quickly, but a lot of employers know that when you hire somebody, it takes like 6 months for them to get up to speed, right? So they hire you, they give you somebody to shadow, they try to set you up for success. No, the employers here, they don't expect that the day they hire you, you're going to be like producing high quality stuff next day. Unless you're doing like a contract job. So this is the reason why I tell you need to start the career properly. If you are getting a contract job and you came in and told them that you were a senior BA and you got the salary for a senior BA, they are not going to spend time to train you because you said that you're a senior BA. So do senior BA things now, right now. That's what they'll expect. That is why I caution new BAs to be very strategic about how they start their career. All right. So, but as I said, I am not looking for jobs I could start from the bottom and move up through. That's right. That's a good approach. Okay, so yeah, so Faladi, you can book a consult with me. Again, we talk about the BA role and what we do in the consult. Like I said, we look through your resume. I don't write it for you though, but I will review it for you, make sure you're not making any detrimental mistakes, give you suggestions as to how to improve it, so that when you put your resume out there, you should be getting calls. And then we talk about your skills. What do you have right now? You remember Moses? When Moses went across the Red Sea, he was like, okay, we're at the sea and there's the chariots behind us. What are we going to do? He put his hand out. He already had the tool in his hand. He had the staff. He just didn't know the power of it, right? So it's like that. I'm very religious. So I like to use religious context. Um, and religion, when I say religion, I mean Christian. I don't mean just, whatever random religion, right? So you already have the tools is the point. You already have the tools in your hand. I just need to open your eyes so you can see you already coming with these things that they'll be able to benefit from. How can you present that? How can you highlight that? And then we'll talk about how to approach the job, how to answer the serious questions, this situational questions that they will ask you, how to tell good stories, and what do you ask them. So if you follow a lot of people, online content creators, there's so much advice about what to ask the interviewer, how to answer certain questions. And it's like, oh my goodness, if I was in the job market right now, I'd just be so confused. There is so much contradictory advice out there. It's like, it's crazy town. So I give you what I think would be the best advice, the best questions to ask, and how best to present it. And I've had lots of successes with this consult. So I think with that, you'll be able to be successful as well. The consult is recorded, guys. So the things I teach you is going to be really hard for you to remember them, like just in a live meeting. So I will record it for you so that you can get it. It's a personal recording. It doesn't go on Facebook or anything else. It's just for you. And you can listen to it over and over again. So by the time you show up for the interview, you heard it already. You know what they're about to ask you. You're prepared. You're not nervous. Your knees are not shaking and your belly don't feel like you have butterflies in it. You probably will a little bit, but you should be more confident for sure. And you'll be able to deliver what I'm going to teach you in the way that you can get the job. And, it'll be up to them in the end of the day, but you're going to give it your best go. You're going to give it your best go. And I've had so many people who have had successes, people who have gone to 1, 2, and 3 jobs with my counseling and gotten all 3. So I'm very proud of my successes, and I want to help you also to do that. So you can go to carolise.com to book the consult for that. It's called the Business Analyst Interview Success Blueprint Consult. I will put the link in here. And you just have to find a time when I'm free. The month of July is going to be a little bit rough because I have a lot of activities going on and I'm traveling a bit for this month also. So it's a little bit rough. But once you find a time I'm free, then you can book that and we'll just show up and work on it together. Here is the link for those of you who are interested in that consult. You can click on that link that I just put in the chat and you can book the consult. All right. So we talked about the control requirement, which is one that I mentioned to be the overarching requirement that every other requirement must fall into. So the example I gave was it must meet parity, right? Another example could be um, we're working on a regulation. So if you work in energy or you work in healthcare, you work in banking, there's always these regulations you have to follow. And one of the control requirements is that it must meet this reg, right? So there's a new regulation. Everything in your requirements must meet the regulations. So that could be another control requirement. So those are examples of how you can help to manage the scope, and you yourself as a BA can do a better job as a BA because you know what the control requirement is across all the requirements that you write for whatever project you're working on. The other concept that I coined, and maybe other people have different names for it, but this is a concept I want to bring out, is what I call global user stories or global requirements, right? So if you're in Agile, it's user stories. If you're in Waterfall, it's going to be just requirement. What do I mean by global requirement? Well, I mean, these are requirements that happen across the project also. So whereas a control requirement is just something that we have to meet, The global user story, the global requirement for me is just something that's consistent. It's the same thing across everything you're building. So I give an example. There is an error whenever you fail to connect to some backend system or whatever. Whenever this error occurs, it could be 404, it could be any other different error, 503, all of these errors. Maybe your client says, we don't want to display those individual error messages to the customer because they won't know what it is and it'll confuse them. So we have this generic error that we want to show every time we have a problem with the connection to the back end. So it's a system failed, please contact us at the call center or something like that, right? Or something like that, some message like that whenever there's an error at the back end. So this is going to happen across the product, right? Which doesn't matter which screen you're in, doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Whenever we have a connection issue, that's the error we want to show. So in that case, you wouldn't write a user story for every single scenario and then put this error and say, well, if in the event where it doesn't connect and show this error, you'd create one story or one requirement that says whenever you have a connection error, then show this error message. So how does that look in the real world? It looks like, if you're using Jira or Azure DevOps, it looks like a new PBI or a new user story that you'll create. And whenever you have other user stories that this scenario could happen, you just link to that story and say, okay, in the event of a connection issue, refer to user story 123 that talks about the error message, right? So what does this do? It prevents you from being repetitive. It prevents you from writing, and people who are working in the field know what I'm talking about. If you're new, it's going to be a little bit hard to conceptualize. But if you're writing these stories for people to go off and build, you don't have to keep writing the same messages in every single story for every single screen that you're building, right? That would be like very repetitive. It helps you to have all the requirements in one place. And in the event they change, let's say they change the phone number you're supposed to call, now you don't have to go to all of these individual stories to update that phone number. You just change it one place and it updates, the developers will see it in the same place and they'll make the changes for you. So those are two concepts that I wanted to call out. Um, the idea of a global requirement or a global user story, and the idea of a control requirement, which is this is the overarching requirement for everything. So I thought I'd drop those two those two knowledge nuggets for you today. And yeah, I think that's it, what we have for today. This is the end of my recap of the Global BA Stand Up. Again, if you want to join for next month, the link is in the chat for you to go and sign up. And then we'll send you the email with the link to join the meeting. And it's the first Monday of every month. We want to create this community where we talk about things, we have conversations, we help each other. Because, like I said in that meeting today, we have an opportunity here to become excellent as business analysts. We have an opportunity to jump into this field and create a community where we can excel in this field. And we should take advantage of that opportunity. All right. So here we go. That's it. That's all I have today. Thank you all for joining this recap. I hope you guys found value in it. And again, go check out my website, carolise.com, for other resources and case studies and templates. And before I go, let me tell you this. So I'm having our Insightful, which is our monthly workshop. We didn't have one in June because I was traveling, but we're having Insightful in July. I'll put the dates out shortly, where we're going to be teaching how to do process flow diagrams. I've found that people are stuck on process flow diagrams for whatever reason. People tend to not know how to draw a process flow. So we're going to do process flow and we're going to do swim lane. Swim lane is the one that you have the different lanes and different things happening on different lanes. So we'll do that. We'll do an exercise together in the workshop to cement in you how to create these process flow diagrams for your documentation so that you're no longer intimidated by them. It's easy to do. I'm going to show you the easiest way and the tools to use. And some of these tools are free. So there's no barrier at all for you to be able to dominate doing this and be able to create very, very professional documentation for your projects with confidence and be able to walk the team through the process flow and make sure you have the right shapes and you're doing it the right way. All right. We're going to do that in the month of July. So look out for that invite. And normally the Insightful costs $95 to join. We tend to go for like 4 hours because there's lots of content. I'm going to make sure that I'm very strict this time to make sure we reduce any distractions and questions. We keep the questions to the end of the class, but you're able to ask questions. You're able to get answers right away. You're able to follow along. We'll have tools that you can use so that we can all walk away from the class with lots of confidence. And we'll also have the class recorded. So look out for that invite. It's going to be $95 to join, and we'll teach you how to draw effective process flow diagrams for your projects. So looking forward to that. All right, guys, this was great, and I will see y'all in my next live stream or next video. So thank you all. Take care. Bye bye.